Mr. Malema, today I want to challenge you respectfully. Like Professor Lumumba, you're one of the people who shaped my thinking. I consider myself one of your students from a distance. It is through the critical thinking you and others encourage that I'm even able to challenge you today, right? So, first, I want to start by acknowledging something. I know the pressure that you are under. I know the forces against you are massive. I know that you're fighting political opponents, powerful economic interests. You're fighting media narratives, historical injustice, and at the same time, people's expectations as well. I genuinely don't think that many people appreciate how difficult that is. So, I also know that your heart is with Africa. This isn't an attack on your vision. It's a conversation about strategy, leadership. So, I think that this particular moment required a different approach, Mr. Malema. When the immigration debate exploded, you were one of the first national leaders to frame it as xenophobia. You remember, right? I understand why you chose that language, and I know what you were trying to prevent there. But I think that we underestimated what would happen next, right? Because what happened next is that the moment that word was used, it became the headline. People across Africa and around the world, they took it and ran with it. Very quickly, the conversation shifted away from why South Africans were frustrated in the first place and became a debate about whether South Africans are xenophobic. The context was lost. You see, leadership. The problem is that the overwhelming majority of South Africans they weren't attacking anyone. Most were expressing their frustrations, rightly or wrongly, about the conditions that they were living under. Once the entire conversation now was reduced to just one word, many people felt labeled instead of heard. And that's why I say that leadership is also about timing, right? Sometimes the first thing people need to hear isn't a label, they need to feel that someone understands what they are experiencing, right? Once people feel heard, they're far much more willing to listen to your bigger analysis. So you see, sometimes leadership isn't about speaking first. It's about reading the room first. The moment people felt labeled there before they felt heard, many stopped listening. And that is where I think that we lost each other there. One thing I have learned, though, is that emotions are not the enemy of critical thinking. They are information. If millions of people are angry, if they're worried or fearful, leadership has to ask, why are my people feeling like this, right? Even if you believe that some of their conclusions are wrong, the emotions themselves, they still need to be acknowledged. In therapy, one of the first things that they teach you is that before you challenge someone's thinking, you first validate what they're feeling. Not because every conclusion is correct, but because we're trying to build trust here, right? Politics is no different. Leadership. The ordinary person in Tembisa is not waking up thinking about colonial economic structures or multinational capital or the legacy of the Oppenheimers and stuff. They're thinking about whether they will find work today, whether the clinic will help them today, whether their children will get into school, whether life is getting harder. That's the ordinary people. As Pan-Africanists, we may understand the bigger picture here because we studied these things, but most Africans were never given that education. We know this. We can't expect someone who doesn't even know where their tonight's meal is coming from to think immediately in continental terms. We can't expect that. This is why communication matters so much, leadership. The same applies also when we talk about open borders. I believe in that freedom of movement across Africa. I want that too. But I also think that we have skipped a few steps here. Freedom of movement should be a destination, leadership, not just declaration, right? African unity doesn't begin at the border. It begins by solving African problems together first. It begins by improving governance, creating jobs, building trust between our countries, and showing ordinary people how unity makes their lives better. It should be easy to showcase. Then freedom of movement becomes something that people embrace instead of something they fear. You see, Even solving practical things like, why does it cost to travel from one African country to another? Why does it cost more than traveling to Europe? Basic things like that, that ordinary people understand. Let's show how unity can solve that. As Pan-African intellectuals, I just think that we need to be honest with ourselves, you know. Maybe it's time that we stop assuming that everyone understands what Pan-Africanism means. Maybe we need to build a practical framework for what African unity looks like in 2026 based on where our people actually are emotionally, economically, politically. We cannot ignore these conditions, right? We have to make Pan-Africanism practical before we make it philosophical. You see, leadership. Break it down into small pieces that people can relate to. Show people how unity helps them feed their families, how it can help them grow their businesses or to create jobs and improve their daily lives. Then they will protect the vision themselves. You'll see. Leadership. I still believe that you can help bring the Africa many of us dream about. But I think that your biggest test right now is no longer your ability to speak, right? It's your ability to bring ordinary South Africans together with you. Because if South Africans don't trust the vision, then they won't, you know, they will never vote for the people who are carrying it. And without political power, you know, even the best decisions or best ideas, they remain species. Leadership. We need to change that. I know you're educated. I know that you have mastered your craft. This isn't about changing your vision, leadership. It's about knowing when to push, when to pull, when to simply listen, right? Yeah, presence matters, timing matters. How we frame these ideas matters also. So as Pan-Africanists, we cannot allow emotion to control our decisions, but we also cannot ignore people's emotions, you know. Yeah, I just think that leadership it's about turning that emotion into understanding, and understanding into the solutions that we need today. I still believe in your vision. I simply believe that if we want to unite Africa tomorrow, we first have to help Africans feel understood today. Respect, leadership.
I think you are very mistaken. This is a big mistake. What you're saying there is a big mistake. And I think also it's far-fetched and people too forward. Do you think Kenya does not have a president? Do you think Malawi does not have a president? Do you think Zimbabwe does not have a president? Do you think Ghana does not have a president? Do you think that Tanzania does not have a president? Do you think all these presidents that are constituted in Africa, in all parts of Africa, they are fools? Do you think that they don't deserve to lead and govern their people? And only EFF is the one worthy and able to go and remove all these leaders in Africa and govern. Guys, you need to be real. EFF is not even leading in South Africa. EFF is not even 50% of the people of South Africa, and you're talking Africa.